Hello, hey, hi, social media family. Been up any subscribers in this world, any visitors to that being on my own particular social media channel and or likewise chat room or comment section. How are you all doing? Hope everyone is doing at least okay. If not better yet, to be said, to be feeling all right, or if not best of all, to be said, to be feeling less than stressed. More blessed than stressed, or too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, family, friends, and hopefully me and mine, likewise as well, are all the same, or whatever I've said. Please do excuse, pardon, or forgive me if I could possibly be that my person butchering the English language as we have the other American dialect with all this grammatics usages, etc. Once again, for a an upteen consecutive time in a row, rather is what I meant to say, well, whatever. But then I never had claimed to have become or be an English major, neither or nor an English professor. Disregard this, this soda. Yes. So, if any of you all have that some such misgivings about my rather mediocre uses of it, then do not focus so much upon that compared on to that being of which I am trying to say. So far as concerning a line of thought to be conveyed in having in mind's intentions to put forth the efforts that could possibly be transformed from a mental line of thought to be verbalized, of views and opinions to be delivered of a message. Oh, but then, how are you all doing? Hopefully, everyone is doing just that, as I have said before. Well, I think I did say that already and asked you all that particular question. And if I didn't, so I ask you now. And if I did, there's no harm in repeating myself. You know, hopefully, all is well. But then, if any of you are of the likes of internet trolls, please take a hike. I'm not having it at the moment, especially with what kind of day, or should I say night as well, that I have become subjected to experiencing. And regardless of who or what could have caused me some or such pain or mental anguish, physical trauma, and etc., even so much as affecting that being of my spirituality. As a believer in God, our Lord and Savior, the Christ Messiah deliverer. But then, whatever I could possibly speak upon here and now, don't kill the messenger. I'm just here to deliver the message at hand. And now that I have pretty much so have gotten the preliminaries, the basic intro, and that is including the footnotes to the side out the way, then and just dive into that the content of this one particular president social media broadcast or video or whatever anybody or anyone wants to call it. And as this is a repeat of the last one in which I had done or did, as is regarding making reference to certain male employees of a mass transit of a public transportation system with all of its different bus and or train routes, and mainly or mostly as they be of the black persuasion, or namely black male c.t.a bus drivers and black male c.t.a train conductors. You all need to quit doing this effing BS, providing inadequate, poor services upon your part, being that because you're greatly inconveniencing more than quite a few, as a matter of fact, better yet to be said, so to speak, or rather to use an appropriate word, worse yet, it could possibly, that is the lack of your persons providing adequate, proper standard services for the different bus and or train routes could possibly prove to become a be to some passengers who make up the ridership c.t.a. as a mass transit of the public transportation system, whereas it could prove to be a matter of life and death. You could possibly be preventing some of the passengers to make it to their medical appointments. Okay. But then in my case, you're taking precious time away from my person to prepare for that the agenda at hand for my own personal survival, being a plans or a program to try to find for that being a person of myself another place of residence of available apartment vacancy after I had received an ultimatum coming from the management of a building where I'm presently at as a tenant, whereas they had so stated to my person as they had given me something similar to an eviction notice, as in a non-renewal of an apartment rental agreement, lease document, printed letter of correspondence stating that I would have to vacate the premises of properties being of my present unit's atmosphere of a place of residence or apartment for that being of the mandated scheduled appointed date in question as a result of developments of how the management, that is the real estate management personnel representative, had confused me with the very same neighbor from down hell among the dime a dozen public nuisances problem neighbors, being of whom I had complained to them about a number of times, and as well as I had complained to the police more than quite a few times, equally as well. In that same line of thought, in no sense of the word. And whereas they had believed the lie that he had told them about me compared to the factual statements being in which I had made and state my grievances and complaints regarding or in reference to him. And whereas he flipped the script out of resentment for my person having done so by retaliating. And the same line of thought and sense word being in which I had mentioned earlier. And whereas you c.t.a. employees of black male bus drivers and black male train conductors are not helping matters any. Yes, you're not doing something of a nature that would benefit me, but rather it would be non-beneficial or put me at a great disadvantage rather than how I would like the general services to be provided for the different bus and likewise train routes to become to my advantage or in my favor. And because I only have so much time, is that what I mean? Say no. To speak appropriately, I only have so little time now, that much less, to try to find for my person another place of residence of a unit's atmosphere, an available apartment vacancy before the deadline when I am to vacate my present place of residence, unless I could get real estate lawyers involved to take my case, a legal dilemma regarding landlord and tenant dispute, so that I could buy some time for myself to save up money not only for moving expenses, but to use some of that money to pay my first month's rent at another place of residence, being my next or new apartment, and hopefully before the deadline and before I could possibly become homeless, as the impending threat of a homeless situation or existence is now upon the horizon that much more, or hanging over my head as that being the case of situation up under conditions of rather extenuating circumstances, whereas I have that many less days to try to take care of the necessary business at hand. Whereas at one time or another, I have had, like a few calendar months to do just that. And now it's less than a couple of months. As a matter of fact, it's down to something like a month and a half, as in a month and 2 weeks. And whereas you male CTA employees, uh, bus drivers, and train conductors, uh, black brothers are not helping matters any. If anything, you're causing me just as much or just as many problems, or you put me just as much at a great disadvantage as a neighbor from down hell who had caused me to become subjected to experiencing my person getting walking papers or paperwork documents that he should have received much rather instead. Now, I don't know what you black male bus drivers and black male train conductors are doing, but whatever it is, that's causing your persons to provide all this inadequate, poor service on your parts to drive the different bus and trains or different bus and train routes. You need to stop doing whatever it is that's making you show some such really lousy, poor service. That's including if you're, you know, living your lives in the bottle or living your lives worse yet in the pipe, as in drinking intoxicating alcoholic beverages, qualities and quantities, or whatever source or types, or worse yet, using different illegal street drugs. You know, I mean, I'm getting pretty damn sick and tired of having to wait for a time frame period for a bus or train to come for whatever bus or train route. I say, for example, for starters, even so much as just so to speak, then that's a long time. So far as half an hour, 30 minutes, or worse yet, for a whole hour, 60 minutes, or longer than that. I mean, after I could have possibly gone through a hard, long day as it is, be it were to be for a hot summer season or a cold winter season. I mean, nobody should have to wait a half an hour for a bus or train to come, especially if a passenger who becomes a part of the ridership of the mass transit of a public transportation system could possibly be on the verge of becoming homeless. You black bus drivers and black train conductors, you need to stop doing this here, providing a lack of adequate service or providing poor services on your part for the driving of the different bus and trains with different bus and train routes. You know, Stop it, I say. That's a great inconvenience to everybody of the different passengers that make up the ridership as we have it of this one particular mass transit of a public transportation system. Now, if more white persons were to complain, just as much as other races of persons who become passengers commuting as part of the ridership of this one particular mass transit of a public transportation system with all of its many different bus and a train route, then I would doubt that we would have all this poor service after they were to complain to your supervisors. The supervisors are you black male bus drivers and black male train conductors. You know, I mean, it don't matter whatever sort of type of business. Once white persons were to complain, then it's game over. The employees, subordinates of the different business companies or corporations would have to perform much better under the dictates of their employers. Otherwise, they would have to hit that unemployment line. You hear once white person get to complaining just as much, if not more, than the other races of persons who could complain about a lack of adequate service, or that being poor service being provided on the part of employees of a business company or corporation. And CTA is not just a multi-million dollar, but a multi-billion dollar corporation. You know, and if you know bus drivers and train conductors get so many write-ups, especially if they are blacks, then you know what that means. From there, you will be suspended, or worse yet, be fired from your bus and train jobs. You know, I mean, I shouldn't have to wait. Nobody should. A half an hour for a bus or train to come. You hear? I mean, that is like totally ridiculous. I mean, after a person could have been, like say, burning up in the hot summer weather temps, or freezing in cold winter weather temps. Then to add insult to injury, you have to be like waiting all that time for a bus or train to come. It just don't make any sense. It's irresponsible. It's unprofessional. Okay. And like I had said and I stated for the record before, so I say and state for the record again, or paraphrase, not quote exactly. I mean, you could have some passengers who could possibly become commuters, making up a part of the ridership of a mass transit or public transportation system with all of its different bus or train routes, whereas they could possibly have to make medical appointments. So that much more it could possibly come or be of a case of situation more than your average passenger does otherwise. Otherwise, that of a matter of life and death for them. You hear what I'm saying? You need to cut this nonsense out, you black male bus drivers and black male train conductors. I mean, I didn't think I would have to, you know, make a repeat of the last social media broadcast or video of the same content. But nevertheless, I had become so pissed to think that I would be like waiting for a bus or a train for a consecutive day in a row. I'm saying, oh no, this will never do. So as you see the title, I'm like imploring, well, not so much as begging white persons to complain just as much as other races of persons who become commuting passengers of a mass transit of a public transportation system with all of its bus and train routes of many different ones, to complain, to try to get the general services to improve or to resolve this problematic issue. Hold that thought. I don't like to be addressed that way, sir. User has who has popped up in my chat room or comment section. Please respect me and my channel, in our chat room or comment section. Thank you. I appreciate that, because I don't like to be addressed like I'm a common ordinary two-bit punk. That's for the street punks and skinheads out there to be addressed that way. I mean, some may think of it as a term of endearment, but I don't. I mean, I consider myself to be a gentleman and a scholar, regardless of the present life crisis being of which has been imposed upon my person, you know, that I have become subjected to experiencing. You know. But then thank you for the apology. I appreciate that. And I accept your apology. Anyway, though, getting back to some or such other. So I have had to wait from a half an hour to an hour for a bus or a train to come. And I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? And I get to think it's these black male bus drivers and black male train conductors pulling this FMBS, or the phrase that sound more kosher. Because I really want to say it as I would really mean to it, like, and tell them just where they can get off, like, but then I have to rephrase that even so. Like this, what you're doing is just so you black male bus drivers and black male train conductors, you need to get out of here with that. Call a timeout on that, and pick up the pace, because I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. I have got to find me another place of residence of an available apartment vacancy, like they say, with the quickness as well as with the seriousness, like snap, crackle, and pop, and as it will reflect how I have to come into contact with other landlords much more often than not than the slumlords I have encountered, more often than not, most recently, who have become a conflict of interest, sending me on a wild goose chase on to find out that they would greatly disappoint me once again, because I have to establish rapport with a landlord that's serious in due regard in reference to trying to acquire new tenants. Otherwise, I would be tore up from the flow up. I don't have time to waste. Now I'm just down to a month and a half to find another place of residence, an available apartment vacancy before the deadline and before I would become homeless. And these black male c.t.a. employees of bus drivers and train conductors are not helping matters any. And I'm just so sick and tired of that lack of the proper standard adequate services in general on their part for the different bus and train routes. I mean, it's ridiculous. They need to stop this here crap. If they get so many write-ups from there, they get suspended, or worse yet, they get fired. And then, whereas CTA would have to hire new bus drivers and train conductors to take their place or to replace them, for the different bus and train routes that would be needing new bus drivers and train conductors. So this is the content of this present social media broadcast of video, and it is dealing with the how should I put it, brain dead, brainless, butthead, bonehead, black male CTA bus drivers and black male CTA train conductors. This get me thinking about how, and as I reflect on one incident, and the same line of thought since whereas when the bus had finally did come after a long wait, the black male bus driver got the nerve to talk smack, and I think he was addressing his sly remarks, in regard to me. And I said, man, just drive your bus, man. Keep all that other to yourself. You're not getting paid to flap your chops, to be using those soup coolers of yours the wrong way. Because you keep it up, I will complain to your supervisor, and you'll be begging to keep your job from there, practically on your knees, practically ready and willing to suck Whitey Master's cock, his private parts of his crotch area with those big soup coolers of yours. I mean, less talk, more action so far as the driving of the bus. I like to told him that much more than what I did. But anyway, so I'm about to wrap this up, you all. And as I said, this is what this is, the content for this particular present social media broadcast video is a repeat of the last one. But then, as you all know, as I would, go about giving an intro, or mainly or mostly, well, I would like to think I have done it for all, or at least most of my social media broadcast videos, or at least on average half of them. I will give the intro as a basic introduction and accompany that the footnotes. Then I will speak upon a subject matter or issue at hand or topic of discussion to be debated or that of a given argument with the many different views and or opinions to be associated with and representing thereof, or regardless of whether I would speak upon one or a couple few or four or more for that matter, depending on how I feel. Then last but not least, I will give the closing by saying in more words or less. Well, so I paraphrase my quote exactly or the thought. And whereas I would be saying in more words or less, as I would from there give the gospel message. I'm sorry, I didn't eat much for it though. Yeah, I'm about to close anyway. So I can get something right quick. Maybe have a midnight snack. I gotta try to eat much more at a regularly scheduled time. Keep my strength up and help me in my apartment searching. And, you know, I got my own personal survival. Anyway, though, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I hope that you think this or now while the blood is still running warm in your veins. You know, while recognizing or realizing what he himself had done upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of the road. Suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers upon orders of their superiors, militaristic, political, religious, and or etc. or otherwise. From centurions to Caesars to Pharisees and Sadducees, but then nevertheless, because he went to that cross of Calvary, sacrifice at their hands, come that blood sacrifice, a perfect sacrifice for you as well as for me. It's still my trademark, I have to copyright this sometime. So that any of us, being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, fashion of society, lifestyle preferences, being of old and young, like both two sex genders, males and females represent not only the human species, but then nevertheless the global community within this post 911 era of a new millennium apocalyptic day and age where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes from midnight compared on our point period of tragedy and with a quarter midnight for these rather biblical prophetic time, where to profess some of such faith in them. From there we become and be blessed in one regard and another, more ways than one. First and foremost, with this salvation, being of which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become citizens of the kingdom of heaven. Don't believe the hype. I don't care what Oprah Winfrey has said, or Billy Graham for that matter, who had started out supposedly the right way, but then during the later years of his life, he took on the Oprah Winfrey, kind of views and her opinions about the kingdom of heaven, where she be like saying, she said during one of her talk show episodes that all roads lead to heaven, and that is not the case. You believe that if you want, and if you do, and leave this world believing that, your final destination will be the lake of fire, damn hell. You know? But anyway, once you were to become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven, you will be open to all blessings. But first and foremost, you must get that other blessing of his salvation in your soul by professing faith in him. Whereas from there, you will become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And then, second of all, you will get his deliverance. You know, but then if you leave this world without that fire insurance of his blood sacrifice and salvation that will protect you from the lake of fire, damn hell, then I'm saying, once you were to make that transition for the great beyond of the hereafter afterlife and don't have that blood sacrifice of his salvation to cover the sins of your soul, then your final destination will be the lake of fire, damn hell. Be assembled with the rest of the unsaved, lost, damn human souls, the unbelievers and unbelievers, to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and his demons forever, compared to how we as believers in God, as in Christians, aka Protestants, will not have to suffer that kind of harassment, intimidation, and persecution. You know, for all eternity, being because we would have professed faith in Christ before we were to have left this world, and we would be across that great divide that separates heaven from hell, and come from the like-minded believers, as in Christians, aka Protestants, and in the presence of God as angels otherwise. Hey, you all take care and be safe. Be blessed, not stressed, if and when you can or could possibly become or be of a status like that. And I will see you later. I can't say when I will produce another social media broadcast or video, man, because I still have to find another available apartment. That is, I still have to find another place of residence of available apartment vacancy, is what I meant to say, before the deadline and before I were to become homeless, is what I meant to say. Please continue, because I still have to find another place of residence or available apartment vacancy before I were to have to vacate these premises of the property due to a misunderstanding between me and the management building. Now take care of you. Take peace.